they need to learn to find volume too. So that's the goal today, is to find volume and to remember what we did in elementary school. So in elementary school, I'm sure that you had cubes and you stacked them. And if this was 1 cube, we would call this 1 cubic unit. And then you might see how many cubic units could fit into some kind of container. You know, like these stack up and they sort of fit inside, you know. Do you remember that? Sort of just seeing how many cubes fit in something?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like a Rubik's Cube, right? So another way to look at that is not only could you stack them this way, but you can see how many are go across the top. So like going across the top row, there's 4 cubes there. You see that? And that whole top level, I just grouped that and cloned it a few times. I could piece that together, and now that's 8 there. How many are going to be in the top level?
4.
Altogether, the whole top row.
16.
16. See where he's getting that? So across that top level of, like, say, a Rubik's Cube, it's kind of hard when I put all the yellow there, but that right there, that is 16 cubes. They make the top level. Okay, so you kind of have a visual. When you see something that's a drawing in 3D, you kind of want to visualize like what's going on in here. There's cubes in here. And the top level has 16 cubes on the top. So if I think of volume as how many cubes I could put on the top and multiply it by how many levels are there?
4.
There's this level, right? And then that level, and then that level, and that level. There's 4 levels of 16. So I know the top had 16 cubes. And then the height of the whole object is 4 units high. So altogether, I have 64 cubes that can fit in there. So we say the volume is 64 cubic units. So another way to write this is 64 with a little unit cubed. And so if it was centimeters, it'd be cm with a little 3. That's cubic units. Okay? So in your book, there's a problem 4.2 that we're going to just talk about a little bit. Do you see how that looks really similar to the picture on the left? So when you look at that page, this prism 1, this first prism, if we zoom in there, you can see that there's 4 cubes in the width, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cubes this way. So altogether there's 4 times 5, or 20 cubes. So this is 20 cubic units. Get a thumbs up, thumbs down on that? Does that make sense? It's just how many cubes there are. What about you, Reed? Get it? Okay. So Prism 2 is the exact same thing, but it has 2 levels. So I don't have to start the whole problem over because this is still 5 units here by 4 units there. So I know the top times the height is a short way for me to figure the volume out, because I figured out the top is the same as this. So I've already know the top is 20 cubic units, but it's 2 rows high. So what's the volume of Prism 2? Yeah.
40.
It's 40. And then Lily? That's right. 40 cubic units. We'll put a little U3 What about Prism 3, Lily? Yeah, she said 100. So she's already counted ahead here. This is 5 units high. And so the volume of Prism 3 is the volume of the top times the height. And I'm going to call that capital H. So that's 20 because the top is the same as Prism 1. And the height is 5. So Lily's correct. 100 units cubed or cubic units. Thumbs up or thumbs down, guys? How are we doing on that? Lori, what do you think? So let's look then at some rules. Okay. So over here, there's these rules. The rule that we were using is this. And that says the volume of a rectangular prism is the area of the base surface. So you just figure out the area of one level and multiply by how many levels there are.
Isn't that only triangle area though?
That's for any prism, but we're looking at rectangular prisms. Because if you can figure out the area of one level, then you can figure out the area of all of it. This method works just for rectangular prisms. Because how did I figure out the area of that one level, Lauren? Like this one. How did I figure that out to be 20?
You did the height times the length.
Yeah, the length times the width. So this, if I used method A and did Prism 3 again, the length here is 5, and the width here, can you guys see that? 4, and the height is 5. So the other way to do that, I think that's probably what you learned last year. 100 cubic units. You could also write it like that. Okay. The drawback to method A is it only works for rectangular prisms. Method B, that idea works for everything. So let me show you another place that works. This is a triangular prism. And if you can figure out the area of the top triangle, that one piece, the volume of that one piece, then you can multiply by the height. Does that make sense? So the area of a triangle, here's the right angle. What's the rule, Bree, for triangle area?
It's base times height divided by 2.
Perfect. So we look for the square angle to find the base times the height. And we get 3 times 4 divided by 2, which is 6. So this has a area of 6, and it's 1 unit high. So we say that piece has a volume of 6 units. And then we figure out how many there are that's stacked up. And we can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that container has 9 of those in there. So this is 9 units high. By using method B, what's the big B stand for? The base. So the volume of this solid is the area of the base times the height of the whole object. And Joe, what was the area of the base?
The area of the base was 6, right?
Yes, because it's a triangle shape. And then the height, Alicia? 9, because 9 of them fit into that container. So the volume is 54. And my units on this problem were little inch symbols. You see that? So inches to the third, or cubic inches. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. How are we doing on that? Okay. So I really prefer method B because it works for everything. You just find the area of the surface shape, and then you multiply by how high it is. But some people prefer method A for rectangular prisms because you can just take the three numbers and multiply them. So here's a rectangular prism. Let's find, wow, that's giant. Let's find the surface shape here. I'm gonna highlight it. It is a rectangle. Probably white was not the best choice there. How about if I make that yellow? So that's a rectangle. What's the dimensions of that rectangle, Rachel?
It's 6 by 3 and 4.
Right. So the volume of the whole prism would be the area of that base, which is 6 by 3 1/4. Then I'd have to multiply by the height. And what's the height, Nevaeh? Good job. Okay. So we're going to take a minute and do some fraction multiplication. Okay. So if I do this first, there's lots of ways to do it. You can do traditional or area model. 3 1/4 times 6. 6 times 3 is what? 18. And then Bridget, what's 6 times 1/4?
1.5.
It is. That's right. 1 1/2. So 6 over 4, for those of you guys that can't do that quick in your head, is the same as 1 1/2. And so altogether, that this is 19 1/2. So 19 1/2. Am I finished? No. What am I missing, Sophie?
You have to multiply it by 4 1/2.
Right, because that's just the area of the base. Now I have to multiply by 4 1/2. And that's going to give me the whole volume. So, Hayden, what's a good way to do that?
What I do is I do 19.5
Oh, I love it.
times 4.5.
He's going to go to decimals. And can I could do scratch work over here. You can do this traditionally too. But 4 times 19 is 19 and 19 make 38, so 76. What's half of 4? 2, right? And half of 19? 9.5. Good job. And half of a half is 0.25. So this is 78 plus 9.5. So, and another 0.25. So Hayden chose to go to decimals, which works really nicely. It might not be everybody's choice, but it worked really nicely. And so the final volume is 87.75, and then it would be cubic units. Lily? $38 plus 30, 4 times 19 is 76.
Yeah, but it's 70.
Oh, and then I added, thank you, I just wasn't sure what you were saying, these two together to get the 78. Yeah, but it's great because you're checking my work. So, let's go back to 2 pages here. This is kind of bonus level right now. This is homework level with the fractions. Okay? And that's a good stopping place.